Thorpe, Anastasia Washington, Samantha Mason, Helenna Santos, Robinson, Kristen Nedopak, and America Young. And I'm Stephanie Pressman. Now, all of the fabulous women up here are creators. They've gone out there and created their own series, their own award shows, their own online magazine. But they all started as actors and hosts. So the first thing I'm going to ask, and it's open to anyone on the panel, is what sparked the leap? What was the thing that made you go from just being on camera to going behind the scenes and creating your own stuff?
I know for me, and I think probably a lot of the women on this panel are going to agree with this, it was really about the fact that I wasn't getting a chance to go out for the roles that I wanted to be playing. I was going out for some stuff that was, of interest to me, but being a geek is something that really defines me, and I'm very proud of that. And I really wanted to break into the more geeky roles, but I've never been like an ingenue, so nobody's like casting me as a princess, which was like the only, I don't know, like that's like the only thing I could find, and I'm like, that's not what I want to do.
That's so Hollywood too, like, well, you're blonde, you're a princess.
But yeah, so for me with Legends of His Whole, it just really came down to I want to do something in the fantasy world that is a little bit more out of the box, where I don't have to be a princess in order to be in a fantasy show. So, in Legends of His Whole, I was like a 2-weapon fighter ranger elf who was pretty rude, actually. And it's really a story about like a bunch of really awful non-heroes who have to save the world. So it was just kind of something a little bit different, but still in that genre. And then from there, that sort of just sparked it. And then from there, I was like, oh, I like creating, and now I'm just going to create anything I can get my hands on.
For me, I grew up in the industry. I started acting when I was really young, and always being put in a box, and having to conform to that box, and not being able to change as a person and grow as a person was pretty stifling. So when I decided not to conform anymore, I wanted to make roles that I could be in and be who I am and do what I want, and I think that's pretty freeing. I can create whatever I want now.
That's actually why I started. I'll get back to you in a minute. That's actually why it's funny. That's actually why I started hosting, because I think sometimes we want to do our own stuff, but we have no idea where to start. And I was an actress, and I constantly, same exact thing you guys were saying, was like, I'm not myself. For me, it was I have this bubbly personality, but I look like a femme fatale, so when I walked in the room and I was all jokey, they're like, yeah, you're not getting this role. And as a host, I could really, put my extroverted personality out there. But also as a host, you are expected to, a lot of times, write your own material, produce your own material, research your own, the stuff that you're talking about, unless of course you happen to have a team that does that for you. And so I sort of fell into creating by saying, well, I want to be myself, and then what came along with that was the producing. And so my point is that sometimes it's just the doing that actually gets you to realize, oh my God, this is so awesome, I should be doing this all the time and not that other thing. But yeah, sometimes you just fall into it.
I've actually never been in anything that I've made, and I just started making things because I moved out here to act, but I think it was also because I wanted to tell stories, and that's all I saw in the movies is I saw the actors. I didn't have the perception to see everything that was happening behind the scenes, and so I moved out here thinking that's what I wanted to do, and I still like doing it, but when I started to create, it's because I just had stories I wanted to tell that I was seeing weren't being told. And there were characters that I wanted to see that I wasn't seeing, and none of them actually had to do with me. It just had to do with stories that I wanted to tell. So I actually haven't been in anything that I've made myself. But then it's to go exactly on what Kristen is saying. As I was doing that, I realized, oh, there's a whole world behind just the face, right? And the acting brings so much to the table, obviously, but in terms of telling a story and telling the stories that you want to see out there, because Hollywood is very limited in terms of the types of stories they tell, that gives you the freedom to tell the stories that you've always wanted to tell, that you think are really important. So for me, that was the journey, was realizing that there's so much more to this world of storytelling that I want to do, whether it be stunts or directing or anything like that. So that was for me, that was my enlightenment.
For me, it's a lot of what they've been saying, but since a lot of these ladies are good friends of mine, I've been influenced by my good friends, and I was like, I want to make something. So because I'd seen so much of what they'd done independently, that was like, well, okay, so now it's my turn, and I'm gonna make something. And that's, you guys influenced me. Yeah, bam.
Yeah, to piggyback on that too, it's the just not wanting to wait at all. And ironically now, it's like, I moved to LA, 7.5 years ago now, and like, so 10 years ago, if you did anything besides be an actor, people would be like, oh, you're an actor and a writer, so you must not really be an actor. There's this whole thing where it's like, well, you're not legit then. And now, with the explosion of the quote-unquote Wild West, which is like the most irritating term to me, but it's true, it's a free game for everybody, and now if you aren't doing all of these things, if you're not writing, producing, acting, people are like, well, why not? I mean, it's available to you, and it's super fun, and I found that the more I put myself out there, and I'm sure all of you guys have found this too, the more other people want to work with you, and like, hence, we're all in each other's stuff, and that's just sort of what ends up happening, and there's so many more opportunities if you just put yourself out there and do the things you want to do, and then people see that you're an awesome person to work with, so that's been sort of what.
And it's freeing. It's freeing to not go into that audition room and be like, this is gonna make or break me. I have my own projects that I love, that whether I get this or not, I get to go home and still keep working on the stuff that I love and my passion projects. I think that that's really important about being a creator. Heidi, why'd you start creating?
Because I had an idea and I was ready. I don't know. I know I got into a bit of a conflict with one of my agents that didn't think that I was quirky or funny, and I didn't really have any material either. And I had an idea about stalking LeVar Burton, and so I recruited Megan, who isn't here, but she's my co-executive producer, and she's just a really amazing writer and amazing improv actress. And so together we came up with a story, and but I wasn't, when I first got here, I wasn't ready to do anything like that. I had a lot to learn, and I just through experiences, I learned how to do what I need to do, and now I'm learning even more about producing, because for a while I was like, no, I'm just an actress, I don't want to direct, I don't want to write, I don't want to produce, and now I'm like doing all of it, except directing. That's a little, I haven't gotten to a point where I can direct something that I'm in, but we definitely want female directors on our project, so you guys can email us if you're interested.
So what makes a good idea? I mean, anyone out there ever had an idea of something that they wanted to see or they wanted to create? Raise your hand if you've ever. Okay, so what makes a good idea, and what are the first steps that you should take once you have an idea?
I say this pretty much on every panel, but I absolutely vehemently believe you have to be absolutely passionate about that idea. You have to care about it. It has to be something that you want to see created. And then within that paradigm, you want to be aware of what kind of budgetary constraints you can do as you tell the story, and let the story dictate the medium. So if that's a web series, if that's, a blog, a vlog, a novel even. I just had two of my closest friends just published an online novel that was originally conceived as a web series, and it's been fantastic for them because they weren't bound by any constraints. They could tell the story they wanted to tell. And so, passion, absolutely, hands down, first and foremost.
Anyone else want to chime in?
I know I said this at Comic-Con with that question. The other thing that I would say is make sure it's something that is super important to you, because you're going to be doing it for a long time. So if you have an idea, you're like, oh, it would be a super funny thing, just know that it's something that you don't mind working on that super funny thing. It's just one little one-off sketch for the next month, because that's how long it will take you if you don't have money. Because you have to then ask the favors or do it yourself. So if you're going to take the step into creating, make sure it's something that means a lot to you, or that you think is really special or really important to share, because it will be you, and only you, from beginning, middle to end. So that's the one caution that I would give you, because I've definitely been stuck finishing out projects that I was like, why on earth did I think this was important?
Yeah, and to piggyback on that, not only that, but
know that it will just be you, and you can't expect everybody else to love whatever your project is as much as you do, no matter what it is. Bria Grant, Heroes Bria Grant, wrote a great piece that's on Biz in the Biz about that, how it's like, you just gotta keep going on, because that sound designer you bring on, they're just doing a job. They might love your project, but they're not gonna necessarily promote it when you're done. It's great if you can find collaborative people who are gonna help you promote stuff, but just know that you might be in it for the long haul and you might be by yourself. So the passion and the love is really important.
And,
Yeah, and,
oh, please.
I'm still trying to figure out this microphone. I'm loud. I think also, in what makes a good idea, for me, with Fashionably Nerdy, when Stephanie and I came up with this concept, it was a situation that had led to the idea. It actually has aired now. I was on a makeover show that aired a couple months ago now, and after, thank you, it made me blunt. And after the makeover show, I was very, very happy with the experience, but the entire time I had been saying, like, I'm a geek, I'm a nerd, and I want my style to reflect that. And while they gave me some really cute clothes and did some nice things with me, it was just clothes that anybody could wear. And so I walked away from that experience going, okay, how can people like me, who do not have any fashion sense, how can we as geeks figure out like how to dress and still feel pretty and trendy, but still be who we are? And that was all because of that. And so it was the idea from the experience, but also it was the fact that nobody else was really doing it. Like there's a ton of geek fashion lines right now, but there was really nobody out there on the web being like, hey, these are the new people you should be watching out for, or these are great outfits to pair together. There was a lot of like cosplay vlogs, things like that, but we weren't really getting anything for like real life wear. So for me, I think part of what makes a good idea is if nobody else is doing it yet, because somebody's gonna be interested in it if I am.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, also along that line, is that there, and in that case it was a little bit special because there, as we've been doing it, we found a lot more blogs out there that are doing it and great people that are writing about it, but there wasn't a show. And that's all we wanted to do was connect designers with the people. And just, we knew we were blessed to be in LA where there's all of these awesome designers, but everywhere else it may be harder to find those people. What do you think the steps that you should actually take? You have this idea, you want to put it together. What's the next step that you do?
So this is actually, I was going to answer the other question like that. You just have to do it. I mean, my idea of a good idea is an idea that actually gets done, or at least starts to get done. Because everyone in this world, think about it, we're all creative. Even if you don't think you're creative, you're in the shower, you're like, God, I have this amazing detective story. But not a lot of people actually do it. So, you know, and of course we're in an industry where we hear people all the time be like, I got this idea, and like, God forbid you say you're a producer, and then everyone has ideas that they want you to do. I'm sure we've all heard that.
Kristen, I have an idea.
Yeah, but we're actually going to do that.
Okay, good, okay.
It is going to involve chasing swords.
Good, all right.
But that would be my first advice is like, don't get stressed out about the final product. I think too many people have expectations that like, okay, I have a movie, it's gonna be a Martin Scorsese movie right off the bat. Probably not, and we've all been there. So just start doing, even if it's setting up, like, call your friend and see what they're doing and see if they can help. Start writing out your idea, just start doing it. And the more work and energy you put into that, the more it's gonna kind of manifest and happen. But if you just sit on that idea, you're just gonna get anxious and it'll never happen, and that's unfortunate.
Exactly what she just said. I never went to film school. I just started making stuff, and the first few things that I've made, I will never show anyone in this entire world. It's so bad.
Accepted.
Hello, America, y'all.
New movies get released when people see these videos. But the thing is,
this is on camera.
but the thing is that I remember after I had been doing this for a little bit, just making my own stuff, sometimes in my garage, sometimes whatever. I had some people volunteer from a film school coming out to work on my set, and they just wanted the experience. And I was so embarrassed because I was like, I didn't go to film school. They went to film school. They went to USC. Like, this is a film school. Like, what am I? They didn't know what they were doing. They didn't know what they were doing.
That happens a lot.
They were film school graduates, and I'm not putting down USC in any way because what they teach is much more of a cerebral practicality. But they hadn't actually had the time on set that I had had. And so there were little things on set that I was teaching them having never been to film school, because I just went out and did it, and I learned it the hard way, and that's the best way to learn it. So I'm not saying do or do not go to film school. I'm just saying don't be intimidated by people who have an education that you don't have or have the experience that you don't have, because the only way you'll learn to do it is if you just go out and do it and just know that the first couple of things you do are probably going to be mortifying. But the best part about it is that you'll watch it and go, I will never do that again. The next one will be better. That's what my friend was just telling me his memoirs are going to be. The next one will be better.
You know, I was actually thinking about that this morning, is that we did this panel at Comikaze, and I was thinking we never talked about the fact that no one on this panel went to film school, right? Nobody studied that, right?
Well, the thing is, people who went to film school, people who are like executive producers on TV shows, like there's still a level of not knowing what you're doing, like at all times. Like,
And not all those people went to film.
no, and it's not. I mean, there's so much, and you know, my whole thing, whatever this question was, what were we at?
I was asking, like, the first question was, what are the next steps?
Right. So I am an exhaustive researcher. Like when I do something, it'll be like, okay, I have no clue what I'm doing, but Google is amazing. We don't have to go to the library anymore, so you don't have to go to film school. So I'm just going to, I literally have like a filmmaking Bible of all of the research that I've done, learning how to do stuff that I have no clue how to do. And that's just what I would say, you know, yes, don't pressure yourself to be perfect, have it be a perfect project, because that perfect doesn't exist anyways, you know, and do your research and just find as much information as you can and start to really look at the people who are doing the things that you want to do and look at that and emulate what the steps that they've taken. That's my thing.
Are there any, so this is what I was thinking about this morning, was since none of you went to film school, and like Helena's saying, she went online and studied and did as much as she could, are there any classes that you guys have taken? Are there any tutorials online that you're really into that have helped you along your way?
I like
Creative
just
Pal
family.
is great for visual effects.
Which one?
Creative Pal is great for visual effects, but there are no classes. It's just working for free. Helping out on your friends' projects and just being on set is just the best possible class you could do.
Just volunteer to be on somebody's production.
Oh,
I'll do that. I'll
I have a
learn.
really good one. I have a really good one. Pretty story. I was like, I think I've done this once with something. No, it's really great. It's called No Budget Film School. A guy named Mark Stoll, oh my God, Mark, I'm really sorry if this is being recorded and I totally butcher your name. But it's a 2-day workshop in LA. He does it a couple times a year, and he's a producer who used to work in distribution, and he's done a number of Sundance films, and it's literally how to, like, it's like, if you have $10, how do you make a movie with that? If you have 10,000, how do you make a movie with that? And it can be translated to web series, to short films. When I took the class, I was doing The Infected, and it's a great course. So it's No Budget Film School. Look that up.
I actually started acting when I was 4. I was a beanie, Jack and the Beanstalk. I was adorable. And I just sort of like dove right. I still remember the song. It's go away, go away, go away, away, away. You're now in the land of the giant, and you must not stay. I'm never gonna forget that. I'm so sorry for all of you. But so I started acting when I was 4, and I just loved it. And I dove right in, and luckily I had very supportive parents who were like, cool, yeah, she's not doing drugs, so let's do that. And I did that. I mean, I did that through high school and into college, and my degree is actually a theater degree, not an acting degree. So I did study makeup and set design and costume design and acting and stage management, and a lot of those skills did translate pretty well when I started learning how to produce. As a matter of fact, when I was on set for Legends of Atoll, I sort of had like my little kit that like a stage manager would have, like Band-Aids and flashlights and like duct tape. And, so I definitely learned a lot from my theater degree experience. And then when I had moved out here, again, I just thought I was going to be an actress. I started doing a lot of background work and being on professional sets. The first couple days were really scary because I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. But after a while, you sort of start to learn, and I made friends with some of the ADs and just kind of, you know, forming those relationships and just being able to sort of see it behind the scenes at how it works, even though I didn't necessarily know what they were doing. Now I knew what it was supposed to look like when you're doing it. So I think I just faked it for a while.
I always feel like, and I know for a fact, because I work with actors all the time, I write for Mrs. Biz from the actor's point of view and also write a blog for actors, that extra work or background work is looked down upon in a lot of the industry because it's very low pay and everything. But I really, if you're interested in acting or being on a set at all, I think it's one of the most valuable things you can do because it's almost like a paid internship where you get fed. You get fed really good food, and you get to watch people doing what you want to do, whether it's working crew or working as an actor. So if you're interested at all, look up. There's tons of companies that do it.
Oh my God.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, great resource for this. Ms. in the Biz book is coming out in December, and there's actually go to msinthebiz.com, sign up for the newsletter so you know when it's out. It's only gonna be like $8.99. It's gonna be awesomely cheap and good for Christmas. But the thing is that there's a number of pieces in there that are really awesome about just like set basics. So if you've never been on a set, like what is a gaffer? You know, like stuff like that. If someone's saying something, you have no idea what it is. There's answers for that in the book. Like there's a lot of great resources in there. So that's
The way you
another
have
part.
it formatted is really
Yeah.
great too, because you have it formatted in terms of, this is if you don't know anything. I'm not on a mic, sorry.
Oh, yes.
It doesn't
Okay.
The book is great the way she has it formatted, because it's like the first section is if you've never been on a set, and it's like how to get on one, and then okay, now you're on a set, how to behave yourself, but like take it to the next level. So it's for people of all experience levels. Like there are a couple things for people who are total noobs, and then there's things on there that are much more in depth in terms of your experience in the industry. So it's a really great book.
And I have a really quick question for all of you. Raise up hands. How many of you work in an office environment or corporate America? Right? So you would, no, I have a completely different background. I studied a little bit of acting in college. I was an art major. I went immediately out of school into illustration and design, and I had worked in corporate America for companies like Microsoft for like 15 years. I still do freelance. But you wouldn't believe how much of that experience crosses over into filmmaking. Yes, I don't know how to use every camera out there, but a company is a company is a company, is a group, a team, they're all the same thing. So when I started working on film sets, it was like, okay, the people in charge. I mean, what I love about it is the production team is actually a lot more efficient than corporate America. So you're like, oh my God, I can't stand these office meetings. We don't really have those that much because they cost money. But if you do work in an office environment, a lot of that really does transfer over. You already know how to work with people. You already have that hierarchy. Everybody has a job that they have to do. And you just learn the tools. Really, that's all it is. I went from graphic design, learning the tools, to film, learning the tools. And it was pretty much like a similar environment.
And learning the tools, now I'm going backwards, and I wish that I had done some in corporate America. I wish that I had had a business degree of some kind to couple it with the artistry. Because now I'm going back and learning how to do a business plan and learning how to find investors and like learning all of this stuff that's like the completely other side of my brain. So
Okay, so speaking about investors, I know a few of you, we've talked about this before, a few of you have, done some creative crowdfunding. And for those of you that have or haven't used crowdfunding before, can you give us some pros and cons about, like, you have this great idea, you want to create it, but where do you get the production funds from?
Crowdfunding, the negative, the con would be not meeting your goal. And asking your friends over and over again, please check out my campaign, sure. I've done it, and I've also rolled my eyes at people that keep, so that's that whole thing, because you're asking for money, and that's always such a hard thing, but it is essential to some productions.
It depends on who you use those. Some of them won't require you to meet your goal, and they'll still give you the money that you raise. So
But take a larger percent.
that's true.
Can you guys mention some of these and the differences, just since we're talking about it?
Like, so Indiegogo, you can set your campaign so that even if you don't raise everything, you can still get whatever you did raise. They just take a higher percentage of like their fee. Kickstarter tends to be if you don't get your goal, then you don't get the money.
They have the option now, though.
Though they do have an option now. Okay, so when I had used it, it wasn't. But I think the downside to that though is if you're crowdfunding and you don't meet your goal and you still get the money, is it enough to do a project? Now are you able to commit to these people that have given you the money? I mean, I say yes too. We crowdfunded for Legends of Atoll because we thought $5,000 is enough to make a web series. High fantasy web series. In reality, our budget was probably closer to $20,000 just because we had so many friends who gave us cameras to borrow and boom mics and sound. So there was a lot of stuff that we borrowed. So our budget was much more than that. But still, in reality, what we raised and got the money for was not nearly enough. And we still put it out. We still did finish it. Although, we ended up not doing the final 2 episodes. We still put out a really quality product. So it is possible, but like the biggest negative for me with the crowdfunding was literally that like I didn't have any friends by the end of it. Everybody's like, I don't want to look at anything you ever do ever. Not really, but I mean like I was real annoying. Like I was real annoying.
It's tough, right? I mean, it's tough. Like 2 years ago, I feel was like the top of the bubble where you could do a crowdfunding campaign and people were like, "Oh, this is cool, a crowdfunding campaign." And now everyone's like, "Oh my god, another freaking crowdfunding campaign." But I'm a really big fan of. I mean, I use Indiegogo. That's a whole long story, but I just wanted to plug Seed and Spark right now because I really love Seed and Spark. You can go, right? Like you can go and you can put, instead of just being like, you know, I need this X amount of money, you can say, okay, I need meals, I need my makeup kit paid for, so people can actually choose what it is they're donating to. It's a registry.
Amazing.
Oh, no, it's a female creator too, so that's even better. Yeah, it's really cool. Seed and Spark. Yeah, it's like oh my God, what's the ampersand? But it's really cool. So it's kind of I think, the next way to do something that's different. So, you know, I can be like, hey Patty, I just bought your makeup kit.
Oh, thank you.
Also, Helenna, you did something else really fun
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
Right?
So you can also do in-kind donations on Seed and Spark rather than just money donations, which I think is something we're all more likely to be able to give, rather than just passing money around to each other.
There's another one that's, I forget the word for it. It's subscription-based and like, what is Patreon? And they can, a monthly subscription or donation, and as long as you're being interactive with your funders, then they can keep funding you. So there's a lot of projects that way too.
And Helenna, you did something really interesting recently. You did like a singing crowdfunding
It was
campaign.
purely out of desperation. So with The Infected, we shot it out of pocket for very, very, very little money. And we were like, no, we need to festival it because it was better than we thought it was going to be. Like, I was like, well, let's put it online, whatever, it'll be fun. And then I was like, wait, we could maybe go to some festivals with this because it was really just for fun that we were doing it. And so we wanted, to actually get into festivals and do some better post-production with it and stuff. So yeah, I think the goal was 3,500 and like around $2,000, and I was like, really? None of my friends like horror? I'm the only one that likes things that are horror. Like my family was just like, this is gross, I don't know. And so the only way I could get people to donate at the end of like halfway through the campaign, I on Facebook as a joke just said, anybody who donates $5, I'm gonna sing you a song of your choice, like a verse and a chorus. And it was fun because I have a jazz voice background and I just haven't really used it since I moved to LA, which is weird, but I just haven't. So people started actually donating and requesting songs. Then it became a lot of fun. And then I was like, oh my God, I could just keep doing this for fun. And I'm like, that's just a lot of work, I don't want to do that. But it got us way over our goal. We ended up, doing better than we thought we were going to do. And I would bake people cookies. Like I brought Sterling Gates cookies. I'm like, hey, next person donates $60 and bring you cookies, and I'm gonna bake, and I did it. And it just it's just shameless.
Your singing did better for your campaign because Kim and I for Pike and Trident, we pledged that I forget the amount, whatever amount was raised, we'd punch each other or stab each other. And for some reason, the violence didn't work as well as we thought it would be. So good job on the singing. That's what I want to say.
I want to make sure people don't think that you can't make something because you don't have money to make it though. Like that's really important because we made Stalking LeVar a whole season, which was 4 episodes, but whatever. And we spent like, I don't know,
A few $100 on food.
yeah, that was it.
You
We
paid
just
for food
managed,
and that was it.
like making good friends is very important in relationships. I mean, there are people, if you have something that people think is interesting or funny or whatever, and they want to do it, they'll do it. They'll do it with you, and it's awesome. And then it becomes like this whole community. So don't think that you have to crowdfund. I mean, America, didn't you say that you judged like film festivals where people shot movies on iPhones?
Yeah.
So I mean, you have.
It's not always a good thing.
But you can't.
I program for film festivals, and so I've watched, I don't know, something around between 6,000 and 10,000 short films. And the one thing that I will say is that people do submit things that they shot on their iPhones, and a lot of the times they shouldn't have. But that being said, a lot of the times people submit something that they were like, all I have is an iPhone. How can I justify this? And then they tell a story that's justified by with the resources they have, and it turns out to be the coolest thing they've ever seen. Because they had these resources and their restrictions, and they worked within the restrictions to come up with something that people who can just throw money at things wouldn't have thought of. And so they submit these things that are shot on iPhones that are just mind-blowing. So in a lot of the ways, and a lot of times I have found that while I would love a huge budget where I can just be like, oh, I want this thing, and I can just throw money at it. A lot of the times it's like, I love this thing, I can't throw money at it, so what am I going to do instead? I'm going to do this. And 9 times out of 10, that turns out to be the best moment of the film, or the best moment of whatever project we worked on, because we had to think so creatively, since we didn't have the money, that nobody with a budget would have come up with it.
We actually, Kristen came up with a challenge for our audience members at the Spark panel for San Diego Comic-Con, and we'll throw it out to you guys too. If you can make a film, a short film or sketch or whatever you want on your iPhone, and you submit it to me, find me on Facebook, on Twitter, wherever you want to find me, my website, we will show the best iPhone-made projects that came from people that saw this panel. We'll show some of the best ones at Comic-Con next year.
Yes.
I like it. Do it, do it, do it.
Guys,
Do it.
I would say there's no excuse to not make something. You could come up with as many excuses as you want.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say that another con to doing crowdfunding is the perks. You can get lost in Perkland, which is like, you're spending so much money on perks, you know?
Getting lost in
I'm buying it later. So make sure that you know what you're, if you're giving out so much and that's all your budget, you gotta make sure that you're not giving out all your budget.
Yeah, you need to
perks.
structure. I mean, crowdfunding is a production in itself. You need to do your research and know what you're doing. I hate to plug this again, but I'm going to, because there's a crowdfunding tab and there's a bunch of writers who talk about crowdfunding in a really, really extensive way. So it's a good place. Etta Divine, yeah. Hers are freaking epic.
But
Yeah.
but beware of the hidden costs. Their taxes, the shipping of your perks, all that kind of stuff comes into play. So what you're asking for ultimately isn't going to go directly into the budget of your project. That's taking
So-
care of your people.
song perks are good.
Yes.
Punching perks.
Digital perks are amazing.
Yeah, I wish we had done more like with digital perks with Legends of Atola. I think it was so new, the crowdfunding concept, that everybody was like, oh, t-shirts, postcards, and it's now I've realized like, okay, maybe you'll get a t-shirt if you give me $100, not
No, but what we were saying before, but you don't need money. Like you don't. Like the first thing I did back in 2008, I spent a couple $100 on it, and it was all favors. And it ended up being freaking rad, and it was when nobody was doing web series, and so it was like, it was just awesome. And we didn't, literally, we bought pizza, so you don't need to have a lot of money to just start something. And you can do a novel like Stephanie's friends did, and it can be epic. So it doesn't have to be in one certain medium. If you're an artist and you have you want to do a film one day, but you just don't have the friends or finances or anything, I mean, you can draw what it is that you want to create. Start there, do a comic, do, whatever it is, just do something.
Yeah, I mean, for Fashionably Nerdy, we're getting ready to launch our second season, and Stephanie and I have a budget of $0.
We spend all of our money on marketing. That's the only thing we ever spend money on getting cool things to give you guys.
So just sort of volleying off what everyone is saying is, as much as it's your idea and the thing that you will be there at the beginning, middle, and end for, assemble your team. Know that you can't do everything, and if you're here in LA or wherever you are, you have access to amazing people, and that's something that I think we've all learned along the way is you might not be a natural editor, don't think you can edit it. Farm that out to somebody who's really excited to have the experience and work with you and learn that. So create and assemble your team.
And know that social media is your friend, so immediately, I know Stephanie is a big fan of this and I'm a big fan of this. Come up with a name and get everything in that name right away. So that might cost you $20 to buy a website and go get your Twitter and get it, but get it. And then also it's looking at you in the face and going, well, I got the website, so I better do something.
Also, because people want to plug you. I don't know, the guy who did The Room, that movie, The Room?
Tommy
He's downstairs, and my friend's a huge fan of his, so I bought the bobblehead and a t-shirt and stuff. I'm like, Tommy, are you on Twitter? And he's like, no, that's not me. I'm like, what? I'd like to tweet you out right now, and I can't. what? Like, people want to help promote it, because I'm looking at this Joyride freaking air freshener, and it's so awesome that I want one right now. Yeah, I mean, people want to promote your stuff. Like, I want to promote everybody's stuff this year, because it's awesome, and I want to create a community of people that want to raise each other up, so.
So my last question for all of you guys, because I want to open it up. Do you guys have questions? Yeah? Anybody have questions? If so, there's a microphone and you guys can go ahead and line up. But I'm going to ask you guys, how is social media helpful? Like, what should you be doing? What's working? What's not working with social media? How is it helping your projects or hindering it?
I'd just like to point out the air freshener. Personally, that's a great example of targeted branding.
Yeah.
It works for exactly what the show is and what they're doing. I'm not affiliated
And I can only
in
afford a
any
button,
way.
okay?
Maybe, right. But like that makes sense. Buttons are great. We put them all over our lanyards. But I mean, that makes sense if you're doing some sort of branding that is related to your show and your project.
Yeah,
People respond to that a lot.
I went to an event where it was like moms. I forgot what the web series was. I think it was called Moms. But they basically they were serving alcohol in baby bottles. It was awesome. And then basically you went to a bar and they were like, we're gonna throw a soiree and we're gonna serve you. And I was like, that's branding. And then everybody was tweeting about the baby bottles.
Yeah, I love gimmicks.
Kim,
But
we need to do
people
swords.
gimmicks Are, like, is
Give swords.
Yeah, I love themes and gimmicks. That's just me.
They also have a show called Jet Set Nerds, which is about
Luggage
nerds that
tags.
travel, and they also have luggage.
Oh,
Like, this is just two freaking cute.
Some are freaking nerds.
That's so good. Wait, what was your question?
It was on social media. It's fine, because marketing is the same thing. We'll just open it up to the whole thing. Social media and marketing, like.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think that's actually, social media is part of marketing, and I think we actually were answering that question. I mean, if you're doing anything, if you're doing a film, if you want investors, if you want an audience, if you're trying to build the ship, you have to do target marketing, 100,000%. If you're just like, I'm gonna put it out there and see who watches, you might get a few trinkles, but really, I mean, that's why marketing companies and advertising companies make trillions of dollars, because that's what they do for corporations, but you can do that yourself. This is a brilliant example. We are a show about travel, so we are going to give out, you know, the name tags. So you put that on your luggage, and now every time you travel, you think about the show, and it's like somebody's like, where did you get that cool thing? Baby bottles, same thing. And it doesn't have to be products. I think the point is you just need to think about who are the people. I mean, again, if you're running a business and you want to get people to pay for it, who are the people that are watching this, or do I think are going to watch this? Do your research. Find out what they love. What are they spending money on? What type of people are? We're geeks, so we like different things than lawyers might like. And really put that time in. And, well, maybe not. They're geeks too. But really, the point is, put the time in and the research to your idea and how to get it done, but also who is actually going to watch that, because you'll get those people faster. And social media is just another tool.
Yeah, I was gonna say social media. For Twitter, what I like doing is we're building Pike and Trident. We have women and we have sword fighting and we have time traveling. So I'm gonna investigate on Twitter or Tumblr or anything out there, even Instagram, those hashtags, and see what I can find, and then start following those people and making connections with them and start interacting with them. Because if they start liking my presence online, they'll start maybe, oh, look, now Pike and Trident has their second episode, and they might want to start promoting that. And I think if you're starting from ground zero, that's a good way to start, is just looking up hashtags and things that are interesting for you and where else you can connect with other people.
It could be as simple as, I guess, right before we released Stalking the Bar, I just had little cards I was handing out at San Diego Comic-Con, and Stephanie and I were just like, oh, people in Star Trek uniforms, you know. It's about LeVar Burton.
They might like LeVar Burton.
Yeah, it just be something as simple as that.
These people are reading. Reading Rainbow.
For me, it's social media is everything. Like I do all my networking via social media. I connect with people on Facebook, on Twitter, wherever, in a really non-creepy way. And that's really important. You have to be super creepy. No, but it's important that you stay your authentic self when you're trying to connect with somebody. One thing that is a pet peeve of mine that people tend to do that I don't know that people know not to do it is like, you know, you want somebody to check out your show, and so you're gonna put like 5 people like at so-and-so, 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 check out my show, here's the link. And I'm like, okay, cool, but then I go to their Twitter page and I see that they've done that for like 100,000 people, and it feels really inauthentic and just like it's spammy. So that's totally cool if someone is like, hey, Helena, check out this thing, I saw that you liked blah, blah, blah. So it's going that extra mile and not just spamming your content to people, but making a real effort to say, hey, I like what you do, you might like what I do.
Be your authentic self.
So we're almost out of time. We have awesome giveaways if you ask questions. Hi, yeah, go ahead.
Hi. I'm like an introverted builder-doer. Like the idea of being on stage and in front of the camera is like, no thank you. But I build and design things, and I know that Samantha had mentioned that, you know, find your tribe, but I'm trying to find a tribe to join. How do I do that? Do you have recommendations?
Where are you based?
Right here in Los Angeles.
You should join like Film Independent. Do you know Film Independent?
Yeah, actually, I just won the contest last weekend for the hackathon. Like, again, the builder, the guy who came up with the idea, I was on his team, and our team won.
Oh my God, congratulations.
It's just networking.
I do.
Before you leave.
Okay.
You can give us all your cards.
Okay, thank you.
Because, yeah, like,
Monthly meetups as well.
What kind of meetups?
New media
New Media Vault.
comes
That's,
around.
well, that's like how I think I met most, like, I think, yeah, New Media Vault, it's a monthly meetup in LA.
Okay.
Yeah, but Film Independent, if you join Film Independent, it's like $95 a year. Amazing resource. They have Tuesday night classes that are free when you're a member.
Cool.
And the first first Tuesday of every month is a members only meeting, and you
Yeah,
can go
there's
and
one this Tuesday.
yeah, and you can be like, hey, I'm such and such, and I do this, and people will be looking for you, and that's a great way to connect with people.
Also, Miss in the Biz has great meetups every
We
now and
do.
then.
December 7th is going to be the book launch party in old Los Angeles, so the book better be ready by then.
Perfect, thank you so much.
If you guys want the t-shirt, you can just come up. If after we ask your question.
My question is this, because I kind of work like a full-time job, but it's kind of very engrossing. I work sometimes 16 hours a day. I'm away from home. But I have a ton of ideas. I have a theater background. I have a ton of ideas. I have everything that I want to put out. I just don't I realize I don't have the time, because aside from me working full-time, I'm a parent full-time. How do you find a way to balance that when you want to get something out that desperate?
Well, I mean, is your child old enough to edit? Isn't that why you have kids? Just so that you can do things?
There was actually a guy
Very few
who
of us
worked
on this
with his
panel.
kid, and what he did, he played lava with his kid. Have you heard about this? He would have the kid play lava, like we've all done, and jumping from couch to couch so the lava doesn't get it. And then he went in and added in lava, like actual real lava, and he did this with a series of videos. So he had the kid pretend to be like play with a lightsaber, and then added in the lightsaber. And now he's got Target. Is it Target? No. He's got a whole ad campaign with Target. So I mean, maybe there's a way to incorporate your kid.
Yeah, I have one of the ideas I have, actually corporate, I have 3 of them, and they're all under the age of 8.
Oh, great. Their hands are full.
It's just,
It's the Von Trapp family.
I would honestly, when I work like 4 jobs, and I need my sleep, and so it's really hard. And I drive a lot. So I just give yourself some basic time management. If you know that you can have a half hour on every Tuesday, that's free. You give yourself that time. Or some people like to do it in the morning. They give themselves an hour in the morning before anything else. But you have kids, so maybe that's an hour at night after they go to bed. But I would say schedule yourself some time. And even if it's just a little bit, it'll build up. Sooner or later, you'll be ready to do
And find a
your first
team
project.
who can help you out.
Yes.
So you have a support team.
Yes.
thank you.
No, yeah, but what she's saying about scheduling, absolutely. Like, I have every single second of the day scheduled, literally. Like, we cannot hang out together, most of these ladies, because we're also pieces. Like, you have like 4 weeks from now on this day. Like, we have a group that meets, and like I couldn't even meet because I had to finish something for the book. It's literally schedule your time because it's sacred. Like, make it sacred. Be like, I have this hour. It's all I got, and just sit down and do it. And if you haven't read Stephen Pressfield's The War of Art, and a lot of us are really big fans of that, should definitely get that book and read it, and it'll help you sort of get in the mindset.
And she's not kidding. Like, this is us hanging out.
Yeah. That's why she couldn't get the panel started, because we were all chatting.
Stephanie Pressman had to make a panel for us to hang out and talk. So.
Hi, I'm Kelly Miller, and first of all, I want to thank you, because I had no idea walking into this panel that it was all women, so I was really excited to discover that. I moved here to be an actress, and I love it, and school was great, and I still want to do that, but I have so many interests that I can't seem to develop into ideas, so many that I can't seem to focus on one to get it going, and I just end up kind of very scattered, much like how I speak. So, do you have any tips or pointers about maybe how to narrow it down?
Wait, I want to start. Meditation, please. Will everyone do it? I'm like obsessed with meditation, and that's like my number one thing that I tell everybody. Because I was scatterbrained, and I started out doing everything, and seriously, that was the thing that got me to sit down and really, really think, like, what is it that I'm passionate about? Literally slowing my life down a little bit also helps. But just do one thing at a time. I mean, really, really sit down and give yourself some open space when you're not like, I need to think, I need to do, because you'll never get anywhere in that zone. I mean, I know I didn't, but give yourself some calm space, and something will come to you, and something will call to you, and just do that thing first. And if you don't like it, you can do something else.
And also source your audience. Like, I freaking love Facebook. Like, if I need to get an answer for something, I put it on Facebook. So if you said, I have these 4 ideas, what do you guys all love? And then just see what everybody says, and if it resonates that, oh wait, yeah, I do like that thing about swords. I'm gonna do that. Then you already have an interested fan base, because we're all each other's fan bases. And then you know that we'll all have an audience too. So awesome, cool. And that if it resonates with what you want to do, then go with that.
Yeah, I also suffer from this plague of which you speak. And I will say for me, I still want to try to do it all. So it's really focusing on one thing at a time. But then, like, once it's done, Fashionably Nerdy is going pretty well right now. We have some extra episodes in the can. And so actually the next thing that I'm working on is I'm actually writing a novel this month. Is something that we're starting on. Actually with my husband, who helped me outline the entire book last month when we were drinking. But it's actually good. But it's good. So now that Fashionably Nerdy's kind of okay, it still needs my attention. I'm not going to turn my back on it. But now that it's going and it's up, now I'm going to go ahead and turn my focus, and I'm going to try to write this book that I've been thinking about for 2 years.
Also, if it is something that you want to produce and it's female-fronted or female-written, our production company, Dweeb Darlings, is taking pitches. And so you can pitch us your ideas and we'll help you create it.
Yeah, that's what I was going to tell you is email us, but also collaborate with people. That's how I definitely couldn't have done what I've done without Stephanie and without Megan. You need people sometimes to help, I don't know.
It's like
See what I mean?
Finish your work.
Exactly. Yeah, but DweebDarlings@gmail.com. Anybody, if you have ideas.
I'm Lacey, and I'm directing a production of 12 people, school production.
Congratulations.
It might turn into something, possibly, and I was wondering if it might be a good idea if I should invest in kind of copywriting, possibly. I don't know.
Yeah, it's like $55 to copyright something. And it takes 5 seconds. I just copyright something. So yeah, I mean, if you have a script and you need, I would just copyright it. To WGA, but the WGA doesn't actually help you, unless you're a Writers Guild member. You need to copyright your work.
On Legends of Soul, we had a
still need to have
WGA.
it copyrighted.
We had a WGA guy help us, and Legends of Soul, he couldn't really do anything for us because we weren't in the guild. He just kind of let me give you some advice.
But yeah, it's such a minimal expense.
Okay, so I think we're out of time. I can't tell. Is that what you're saying back there? I can't tell.
One more?
She might be just watching back there. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, my name is Summer Campbell. Hopefully you'll know who I am soon. I am trying to make a all-female, developed, edited, written, drawn comic because I grew up reading comics. I love comics. I'm a total comic nerd, obviously. And I haven't seen anything like that.
And literally, like, my boyfriend doesn't even know it's a secret. Because he'll try and help because he's a graphic design major. And I'm like, please don't help. So do you guys, and I live in San Diego, unfortunately, otherwise I would be all over US. Do you guys have any advice for me to get that going if I don't know people immediately?
You should talk to Susan.
Okay, so working on making her own comic book. It's going to be in print soon. So
Yeah,
talk
she
to that nice
just got
lady.
her proof release.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it. A lot of the womanthology books that came out, they had that anthology. The Womanthology was an anthology of female creative. A lot of them are very approachable.
Okay.
So if you were to go get it or get it from the library, because I think it's a little expensive because it's a book. And I mean, a lot of them are really approachable, and they're all writers and artists and things like that. So inkers, you should be able to.
And get out there and start creating, and please send me your projects. We want to see them, we want to show them, we want to promote you guys. We want you to be making great things. So thank you for coming, thank you for taking the time, and thank you to Stanley Small Crossing.